Is Resident Evil Requiem a masterpiece? Before I start, I would like to mention that the only Resident Evil games I have played to completion are 6 and 8, so I deem myself to be unqualified to call any survival horror game a masterpiece. In this game you will be alternating between Grace and Leon. Grace Ashcroft being a very timid FBI agent,
Yes?
and Leon S. Kennedy being Leon S. Kennedy.
You've got to be shitting me.
The sections where you play as Grace are the typical survival horror gameplay. You are stuck in between tight hallways, running around searching for items to progress your escape, all the while weaving around zombies and hiding from the big unkillable hall monitor. Ammo and crafting materials are quite scarce, so you will have to be pretty thoughtful on how you will use what and when. Even though Grace is an FBI agent, she is quite faint-hearted. In the intro you can see her answering her superior fleetingly. When she has to pick up her file, she accidentally knocks over the rest of her stack. When she gets confronted by a police officer, she talks like she has no social skills. This type of playable character helps to strengthen the horror, as her disgust by the situation magnifies the players. And later on Grace needs to be proactive, and also then you can hear in the way she speaks that she is quite insecure. And then there's Leon S. Kennedy.
Back to square one.
His sections are the more action-oriented, especially in the beginning, but later on when Leon gets to Raccoon City, he is free to explore it and search for thing A, B, C to make object X, to clear this barricade and such on and so on. Leon, being a grizzled veteran who has dealt with bullshit for close to 3 decades now, is backloaded with one-liners. The only reason you cannot really go on a complete power trip playing as Leon is because the game does not really hand out ammo, except for this one section. I played this game on the normal, between brackets modern, mode, and I am a bit conflicted on what I think about this difficulty. On one hand it was very nice to be able to use the save point whenever I desired, but I also find that there are way too many quick save points, so dying in this mode does not matter. In fact, I have sometimes found myself to be woefully underprepared for a situation, then die, and actually want to load a manual save so I can better prepare for what is about to happen and thus bypassing the quick save altogether. However, there are also a huge amount of unique dying animations, which can be both pretty funny and very gory. The game is incredibly well crafted, with an amazing amount of attention to detail. The street, raining, people running away, cars crashing. Beautiful care center, with recently turned infected who still feel the need to work. This disgusting underground dungeon, with a human corpse processing plant. Raccoon City. I am not a long-time fan of the series, and I don't know any personally. Maybe there was a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people, maybe there was quite some disappointment. I do not know. What I do know is, I really liked Raccoon City. Running around searching for stuff, the occasional encounter, and not having to worry about some unkillable fucker constantly chasing me felt somewhat relaxing. Now, is Resident Evil Requiem a masterpiece? I still deem myself too unqualified to say yes or no to that question, but I can say this. There is a good amount of gore, the game is scary, but not as much as 7. Most of the puzzles are pretty easy, oftentimes you will just find a note with information on it. And while completing puzzles like voila feels very satisfying, looking back I feel like the difficulty could have been turned up a notch. Some of the bosses were a bit lazy in my opinion, and those were Big Spider, Big Plant. It was funny though to discover that the plant has a MSRP of $100 million. In this universe there's barely anything too wild, so just taking a normal thing and making it bigger is a little disappointing, more so because of what could have been. The level design is top notch. Exploring, searching, backtracking, nothing feels out of place, and the place looks gorgeous. Switching back and forth between Grace and Leon always felt like a breath of fresh air. First you play a couple of hours as Grace, where your heart is in your throat while you traverse the overrun facility, and then you switch to Leon for a bit, to shamelessly slaughter infected. Then you play as Grace again, and you somehow have 40 bullets, so you feel like the man. Woman. Until there's some encounter you have only 10 bullets left and you feel the pressure again. A couple more back and forth and then it ends. The story is just good. It has good pacing and the protagonists fulfill their roles credibly. 9 out of 10.